There are many problems that people in the design industry have to face all around the world, and one of them is the protection of intellectual property. What is intellectual property law? Intellectual property law, commonly known as IP, governs the ownership and accessibility of ideas and inventions on tangible and intangible concepts. There are many different ways to protect the ownership of ideas, products, or concepts, but these usually come in the form of patents, trademarks, or copyrights. There is no country without some sort of copyright laws in place, but countries such as Afghanistan, Ethiopia, Iran, and Iraq have no known copyright relations with the United States, but may be honoring obligations incurred under a former political status, including possible relationships as a territory. More important thing than the laws is the enforcement of them, and that is where all the difference lies between a developed country such as United States of America, UK, Germany, etc., and developing countries such as Pakistan, India, Kenya. Artists in the design industry suffer more in the developing countries because of the intellectual property laws are not properly implemented. Why is intellectual property an important subject and why we need to have laws to protect it? The reason for this is not hard to find. Firstly, it is very important to protect intellectual property as it is considered to be the currency of our time. Secondly, developing countries with weak intellectual property laws not only damage their own economy but also cause damage to economies of other countries. For example, according to the website of Center of Culture and Development under the heading of Intellectual Property Rights in Pakistan, Problems and Prospects, it is stated that Pakistan in 2015 suffered an estimated 20 billion rupees loss in sales tax per year due to piracy of intellectual property in various forms. Pakistan is one of the world's leading producer and exporter of pirated optical media of copyrighted sound recordings, motion pictures, business software, and public materials. United States companies bear loss worth $500 million to $1 billion each year due to piracy in Pakistan. An article was published in the Express Tribune September 21st, 2013 called Intellectual Property Rights Pakistan Needs Proper Laws to Attract Investment. The article stated that Bernice Donald, a federal judge on the United States Court of Appeals, said that for Pakistan to promote investment, it is critically important for the country to constitute legislation on intellectual property rights. She said the investors do not want to invest in those countries where the IPR legislation is weak. Courts of the law will play a critical figure in IPR enforcement, which is essential in order to attract investment. The judge also said that if you get the framework of IPR regime, the gaps in the law can be amended. She said this while elaborating on trademark and copyright laws. It was further stated that strengthening the IPR legislation will bring in investment, which will in return will create job opportunities for locals and will boost the economy of the country. A briefing paper called Intellectual Property and Developing Countries, submitted to the USAID Washington by Nathan Associates, tells us that the intellectual property rights are protected under the domestic laws of each country. Industrial property offices, courts, and well trained practitioners all contribute to the successful operation of the intellectual property system. Although each country determines its own laws and practices, these must conform to the requirements of international agreements to which the countries belong. Governments have formed agreement on intellectual property since at least 1883, when the Paris Convention for the Protection of Industrial Property was adopted. 15 most intellectual property agreements are administered by the World Intellectual Property Organization. Intellectual property provisions are also included in the trade agreements, the most important of which is the Agreement on Trade Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights, an annex to the agreement establishing the World Trade Organization. According to an article published in Express Tribune, Pakistan, a developing country, is a member of both the Berne Copyright Union and the Universal Copyright Convention, just like many developed countries. Under the International Copyright Ordinance 1968, issued under Section 54 of the Ordinance, the provisions of the Ordinance which apply exclusively to Pakistani works also apply to any work first published in a country being a member of either of the two conventions, meaning they have the same protections in Pakistan as locally produced works. Accordingly, the copyright subsisting in any work in any member country is protected in Pakistan. Pakistan is also a member of the TRIPS Agreement, which contains provisions of the Berne Convention for the protection of literary and artistic works, 1971. The types of work protected under the ordinance are literary work, dramatic works, musical works, artistic works, including drawings, maps, photographs, and architectural works, cinematographic works, records. In 1992, an amendment was made in the definition of literary work to extend coverage to computer programmers. This proves that a developing country such as Pakistan does have proper intellectual property laws, but why are they not properly implemented? For this, we'll take a closer look at the statistics and find out the problem. According to the statistics mentioned in the article, Protecting Ideas Intellectual Property Rights, data compiled by Intellectual Property Organization IPO, which was created in 2005, shows that investors, mostly foreigners, have submitted 88,067 applications at Trademark Registry, Karachi since 2013 for trademark registrations. Of the total applications for IPR registration, the share of trademarks stood at 83.78 PC. The trademarks actually registered stood at 33,822 or 38.4 PC of the total applications. The increase in application filing for trademarks was a healthy sign, but the low registration rate puts a question mark on the performance of IPO Pakistan. The data breakup on trademark registration in the year 2015-16 shows that 11 PC applications were filed for foreign brands out of 8,882 applications for the registration of foreign brands. 3,904 requests were from the United Kingdom, 1,164 from United States, 828 from China, 488 Germany, Japan 267, France 154, South Korea 132, India 85, Singapore 50, and Australia 26. In 2014, 15, and 16, the Patents and Design Office Karachi received 2,703 applications for patent registration. Of these, only 665 or 24.6 PC patents have been registered since July 2013. An overwhelming number of patents were registered by foreigners. Out of a total 214 applications in 2015-16, 203 patents were foreign and 11 national. The same office also received applications for the registration of industrial designs, as many as 1,509 applications in the last 3 years, of which only 964 or 63.88 PC designs were registered. The Copyright Office Karachi received 12,830 applications in the last 3 years, of which only 5,199 or 40.522 PC copyrights were registered. According to the article, one of the reasons for the low rate of registration is the shortage of human resource of the Trademark Registry Office. Of the section posts of 23 officers, only 13 were working. A similar gap exists in the supporting staff. At the same time, training of human resource regarding the relevant laws is another area for consideration. At the Patents Office Karachi, there were only 15 officers against the section post of 31. A similar gap existed in the supporting staff. IPO Pakistan, which is responsible for making policies ensuring IPR implementation, is also understaffed. There were only 17 officers against the section post of 47. The organization also works without a regular director general. Experts say there is no issue of funds to fill the human resource gap, but government priority is lacking. IPO Pakistan generates revenue from the registration of IPRS. In the last 3 years, a surplus of over rupees 90 million was deposited to the government in exchange after spending on expenditures. For example, IPO Pakistan generates an amount of rupees 280.43 million as revenue from registration in the year 2015 to 2016, as against the expenditure of rupees 189.8 million, leaving a surplus of rupees 90.63 million. The article also highlighted some of the steps being taken by the IPO to improve the conditions so that foreign investment can be attracted in the country. A new web portal of IPO Pakistan will offer e-filing of all types of IP applications. 2 more regional offices will be established at Peshawar and Quetta. IPO Pakistan also plans to develop a national IPR strategy and make necessary amendments in the existing laws. The work for the establishment of a national database of generic resources and traditional knowledge has also been initiated. It is noteworthy that this article mentions that most of the applications filed in Pakistan were from foreigners. This highlights another issue of lack of awareness of intellectual property laws amongst the locals in developing countries. For this, I took interviews of two artists, Jake Davies, who is a graphic designer in England and has about 5,623 followers on his work account on Instagram, and the other artist is Irfan Junejo, who is a vlogger in Pakistan and has about 1,03,976 followers on his Facebook account. Irfan has far more followers than Jake, but when asked the same question about awareness of intellectual property laws in the interview, the answers were.
And each of my illustrations are backed by copyright as well. And to further prove that they are mine, I have every single creation file, obviously, because, from the illustrated file, just to prove that I am the original creator and distributor of my work. So even if they tried to say, oh, I don't know, I have a file, the file of the image saved on my computer, I could be like, I actually have the creation file for that.
I haven't registered my work at any place. I don't have any legal copyright other than just the YouTube copyright protection. If I upload a YouTube video and somebody re-uploads it, I can get that video taken down. But other than that, there are no copyrights of my work.
Harper James Solicitors is a firm that advises and helps people register their intellectual property in USA. And a similar firm, Zafar and Associates, is also available in Pakistan, which also performs the same function, but still many artists in Pakistan have little knowledge about the intellectual property laws due to lack of awareness. What Pakistan lacks is easy access to information about how Pakistanis can protect their rights in foreign countries, whereas America, along with many developed countries, has discovered as well. An international trade administration website called export.gov helps US citizens by properly guiding them about trademark and patent registrations in Pakistan. Other than these, there are other problems in developing countries as well. We'll look at another statistics of a developing country such as Kenya, mentioned in an article called Faking It: Time to Rethink Intellectual Property in Developing Countries. The article stated that the Patent Office issued a total of 589 patents since the office opened in 1991. Compare that with the 5,500 patents issued by the US Patent Office in a single week in July 2013. An even scarier statistic mentioned in the article was that of the 50 or so patents granted in the Kenya each year, between 0 to 5 on average are granted to local Kenyan organizations. According to the article, the minimal number of issued patents is not due to the lack of innovation or entrepreneurship in Kenya. Instead, the lack of patent is due to the lack of patent expertise in the private sector and a lack of funds available to hire expensive patent drafting services from firms in Europe, South Africa, or India. To solve this problem is to train more people in Kenya and other countries in Africa in the skill of drafting and obtaining patents. Now we'll have a comparison between a developed country and developing countries regarding the number of community design applications filed. If you look at the table, you can see that the developed countries are on top of the table, such as Germany had the highest number of design protection filings, whereas developing countries are lower on the table, for example, Pakistan. These are specific examples of two developing countries, Kenya and Pakistan, but to have an overall look on why is that the developing economies don't pay much attention to the intellectual property laws. According to an article called Why Poor Countries Lead the World in Piracy, written by Cory Doctorow, it is because the developing world has plenty of problems, but few are as important as piracy. People in the poor world don't pay for software, games, music, and movies because these goods cost too much. Whereas a DVD here in a developed country might cost you an hour's wage, the same DVD in a poor country would cost a day's work or a week's or even more. By looking at the statistics and examples of this video essay, it can be seen that people in the design industry of developing countries face more challenges regarding intellectual property laws than the ones in the developed countries. The goal of developing countries is presumably to improve standard of living for their citizens, an objective to be accomplished through legal enactments, and this includes more focus on the intellectual property laws as well. Clearly, however, copying the legal structure or laws of developed countries will not accomplish this given the fundamental so that social and cultural differences between the inhabitants of the West and lesser developed countries. The change must come from a more fundamental level. Ultimately, each country, given its unique system and culture, will need to cultivate notions of value and attitudes that will give rise to uniquely tailored laws that will engender greater individual economic well-being.